What's up, everybody? Welcome here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin, and I'm having a really hard time trying to figure out what exactly accent I'm doing. I think it was supposed to be British. I feel like it's going into Australian now. So now I'm just going to become Australian. G'day, everybody. Welcome here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. I hope everybody out there... My people are going to get really mad at me for doing this, but I can't seem to stop now. This is bad. Okay. All right. I'm really tired. Welcome, everybody, here to the X-Bomb Sports Live Show. My name is Andrew Valentin. I'm sorry. If anybody's offended, I apologize. She made me do it. It's true. It's very true. I hope everybody's having a fantastic day. We're having a magical, wonderful, beautiful Friday. It's getting cold here, so, we're not doing so hot. But I hope everybody out there is, especially. Obviously, Short Fuse Fridays, as always, we are back with another one, ladies and gents. Obviously, we weren't able to go this Monday, unfortunately. We had some stuff to attend to, with one person in particular hopefully getting themselves a job and stepping in that right direction, and hopefully very soon quitting the other job. We will see. But in the meantime, folks, we're glad to have you with us, as I hope my producer and director is okay back there. Okay. Yes, you have to look out for the hole in the ground. That's the hole that we put the people that don't do well in the show in, so that's where they go. But, ladies and gentlemen, we have a good show for you guys today. We're going to be talking about college football, and then we're going to answer some of your questions. One in particular is going to be specific to sports, and the other one I found just, you riled my gears, and so we got to talk. And so it's a more personal one. So we'll get on that as well for your X-Bomb fan questions. And obviously, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to see any more of this stream as per the usual, you guys can always catch us. We are on xbsportsofficial@gmail.com, where you guys can always hit us up and find us, all that good stuff. If you guys want to, ask us any more questions, any more comments, things like that, you, of course, can hit us up at X-Bomb Sports on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X, whatever you want to call it, all that good stuff as well, too. You guys can also, as well, if you want to see the streams live, we are live every Monday and Friday. You guys can find us at XBomb, youtube.com/XBombSports, and twitch.tv/XBombSports as well. And obviously, if you want to follow me anymore, of course, I'm at The Fluffy Guru on Twitter and Boom Crew Captain on Instagram as well. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's just jump right into it for the topic of the day, the big topic of the day. College football is officially underway, ladies and gentlemen, and as we all know, the season is now coming to a close, right? It is coming to a close, and we are starting to see how this whole new playoff system will play out. So as the season is coming to an end, we are starting to see the path narrow for many teams out there that are trying to make the college football playoff. And right now, there seems to be a definitive few number of teams that seem to be vying for their chance to be in this opportunity to play for a national championship. And the more I'm hearing people talk about the playoff spots, the more obviously the discussion begins about who deserves to be there, who doesn't deserve to be there. The entire base of argument for a lot of people out there on whether or not a team is deserved of being in the position of challenging for a chance to be called champions, it's becoming a very interesting argument to listen to, because everybody's approaching it from all different kinds of points, right? So again, like I said, the season is coming down to an end, right? We are witnessing the college football world now getting to the point where there's a handful of teams that are trying for their best opportunity to get in there, bite that apple, to be able to, punch their ticket, whatever you want to call it, to be in the college football playoff, to challenge for a chance to win the national championship. Now, this one might probably go down to the wire. And no matter what, I know this. Sports fans, they're never happy with any result. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. No one's ever satisfied with the exact outcome of what of what it's supposed to be, right? It just never, no one's ever okay with it. And that seems to be a reoccurring theme constantly in sports. But one of the major things that I want to kind of highlight on this one is particularly the work that's being done in order to make sure that, how do you judge if a team is worthy of being in the college football playoff? Because everybody's going to have their own opinion, right? And there's this board, if you will, right? Like, let's picture like there's this giant board sitting in front of us, and it has all the details about what exactly qualifies a team to be in the college football playoff, right? What are your credentials? It's the same thing as like when you interview, as some of us obviously know. Your credentials certainly hold a lot of weight. What's your resume look like, right? What kind of experience do you have? All of these things certainly weigh in, right? Everybody's talking about it. The biggest ones are strength of schedule, which is pertaining to how many good teams versus great teams versus okay teams are you playing throughout the year, right? Georgia right now has like the number one toughest schedule in all of college football, right? They are, two-time national champions. They have the toughest schedule. So the idea is being brought forth that, oh, well then they should, right? Like they should be that team then that should be at the top. Well, they've lost a couple of games now, obviously, and they haven't always looked their best against some of these better opponents or against even some of these weaker opponents. Against the better opponents, though, they've actually kind of really showed out, even when they've looked at their worst at times, which is an interesting look, of course. But that's the topic when it comes to the college football stuff is, well, look at who they're playing and look at when they're playing them and all. And okay, that's all widely interesting. The other thing is, too, is that obviously what happened last year with Florida State, right? That's also being taken into account. Florida State went undefeated, but because their star quarterback was out for the season, right? He got hurt at the end of the year. It was unfortunate. And even though they had won the game against Louisville, they were left out of the college football playoff primarily due to the idea that they did not have their star quarterback, and therefore they were not going to be viable contenders for a championship. So they were left out. And obviously this created an uproar, right? Should they have been in? Should they not have been in? Does a player really affect the outcome of what was a incredible season for them, an undefeated season for them, that they don't even get a chance to play for a national title? Because obviously the one argument that I heard from everybody was, well, when Ohio State went to the national college football playoff in 2014, I believe it was, JT Barrett's their star quarterback, right? He's leading the charge for them. They're having a great season. Well, he goes down. Well, Cardell Jones, who's never taken a snap in the regular season really as the starter, he's now put in that position as the starter. And through the college football playoff, he plays really well. And obviously Ohio State had a dominating team that year, and they win the national championship. And it's a wonderful story. Could Florida State have had a story like that? Of course. So there is that argument to be said that, certain players are going to affect other teams' abilities to get in to the playoff system. And that is right now the biggest fight that is going on right now, I would say, when it comes to the college football outlook, right? It is the identity of these teams trying to, everybody's trying to vie in there, right? Because, look, you've got teams like Indiana and BYU and Colorado. They're getting their first time in there to the college football playoff. And Boise State. These are schools that most people would say, no, never, not for the college football playoff. There's no way. Colorado maybe, but the other three, everyone would go, I wouldn't believe it if I saw it. But it's happening. Like, Boise State has a first-round bye. Crazy as that is, right? And then you got Colorado, who's, got a couple more games that they could easily win, and they go in there and they have to play for the Big 12 championship, and then it's like, hey, we'll see what happens there then. They've got a chance. They've got a shot. And then you've got, obviously, SMU, and you've got all these other schools that are kind of being pushed in there too with everybody else. And the question then becomes, okay, so do these small schools stand a chance, right? Because one of the things that people were getting tired of was the parity in college football, which I would kind of call BS on, because we all complain about the fact that, Alabama and Georgia and, Clemson, all these teams are always going to make the college football playoff. We preach and we moan and we cry about parity being a problem in sports, and yet, who do we want to see in these big games? We want to see the best teams play the best teams. And if these are the best teams, why are we shocked, right? Why are we shocked at all? That's what I never fully understand, I never fully am able to grasp why it is that people get so complainy about the fact that your team, or not even your team, but certain teams are in the college football playoff, and it's like, well, look, they're always in there. Why can't we get somebody new in there? And the moment somebody new gets in there, right, a TCU, a Cincinnati, they get destroyed, right? They get destroyed. And everyone goes, see, that's why they shouldn't have been in there. Like, no cherry picking. You can't do that. You cannot do that. That is the most frustrating thing, one of the most frustrating things I have with fans all the time. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Also, by the way, a stupid saying. Dumb. If I want my cake, I'm going to eat my cake, and then maybe I'll eat your cake too. Consider it. But I don't like the idea that people keep throwing that out there, because then guess what? When you get those new teams again, they get beat. And this is part of the problem, right? You've got a bunch of teams then who enter in, like BYU, like Boise State, like Indiana even, I would throw in there too, that they're going to go in there and they're going to, as I say, fool around, and they're going to find out. And I replace fool with what the real word is, of course. But it's the coming of reality of they think they're good, right? They think they're fooling around with an undefeated season or a really good year, and they're figuring out that, we've got a chance to make the playoff, and we're going to be able to do it, and we're going to be able to make it in there and stuff. And it's just, it is just frustrating to listen to people say that, because it's like, yeah, you preach about how you want those new teams, but at the end of the day, these quote-unquote smaller schools, if you will, which they're not really small, but they're smaller in comparison to the bigger teams that always get put out there, these smaller schools eventually are going to learn that, beating Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, Miami, the big powerhouse teams of college football, it's not going to be easy, right? Look, even Notre Dame, right? Notre Dame could possibly almost get thrown into that mix of teams where they go, well, you're not a small school, but you're going to mess around and you're going to find out how good these other teams are. Which, look, it's possible. Maybe Notre Dame has the firepower to actually pull off some magic and get it done. Perhaps. Perhaps they do. Right? This week they go up against Army, who I know they probably are a little bit like, ooh, they kill the clock, right? Like they're not really 100% sure. No doubt in my mind, they're kind of going, this could turn the other way for us if we let it. And then they're going to find themselves in a bad position with the college football playoff, despite the fact they're in the top 10 rankings for the AP polls and the college football playoff rankings. And they've had a somewhat decent schedule, but obviously at the beginning of the year, we were talking about how they lost to Northwestern big time, and they were struggling offensively just across the board. Now they seem to have figured it out, but I don't necessarily know if you can qualify them as one of the small schools, but I don't know if I can qualify them as one of the big dominant names in college football either. And that's part of the problem here. That's part of the issue that I see with the college football playoff system as a whole, which I'm not against this thing. I like the 12-team playoff. and I understand you're trying to create a well of fairness for everybody to be able to drink at, but the problem is some of these teams are way bigger and need a lot more agua than some of these other ones, right? Some of these guys don't need hardly any. They need a sip, and they're good to go. Some of these guys need to start drinking like a big gulp's worth of what's going on here. I mean, look, Indiana's had a fantastic season. Can Frank Signetti take Indiana to the national championship? There is a small percentage chance that could actually happen. They have to play Ohio State this week, which is their first ever big challenge, because right now their strength of schedule ranks towards the bottom at about 104th, 105th in the college football schedule rankings. Like, take it for what you will, obviously, but that's not a good look for Indiana. They've played two teams with one having a winning record, and the other one was a 500 team at this point. Like, this is their first big challenge of the year. And you got to wonder, well, can they come out of it? Can they pull this off? It's possible. But it feels like the margin of error is so thin for them that you can't have any turnovers, you can't have any bad mistakes, because they will capitalize. And then you have to ask yourself, well, where does Indiana rank in all of this then? You lose to Ohio State, are they just out? Like, this is where the College Football Playoff Committee is going to have a tough time arguing, or no, I shouldn't say arguing, but at least trying to convince us why certain teams should get in and why others shouldn't. This is the part of the whole thing about exposure, right? Everybody loves exposure, but exposure also means getting exposed. So as much as BYU and Boise State and even Colorado and Indiana, right, as much as all these schools might love this exposure they're going to get, if you go up against these bigger schools and you get slapped in the face and kicked in the dirt, right, and thrown in the mud, I'm sorry, but you're then you're in a bad spot. You're in a bad situation. And that's the problem, right, is that with what we've seen so far from college football, this is going to be a highly debated situation for years to come, right? I like the college football playoff. I do. Brings me back to my high school days of looking at the bracket and figuring out, okay, who's going to play who's going to do what. Now, obviously, there's teams getting bye weeks, which, I don't know how much I really like that. But okay, sure, fine. Bye weeks, whatever, fine, cool. But the problem that I'm having, though, is that I'm also hearing there's still whispers in the wind about, well, the SEC and the Big 12, they seem to still be dominating the situation going on with the college football playoff, and there's a lot of talk that they're not happy, that they feel like they're not being very well represented because their teams are kind of like holding on tightly. So now there's talk, about the decision on whether or not they will still break away. Apparently, that is still a discussion that's being made as to whether or not the SEC and the Big Ten and the Power Four essentially will break off and be their own thing, and the group of five plus whoever else they can potentially rope into their group, that then divides the entire college football system, and they basically have like a new Division 1A, Division 1A, Division 1B, I guess, something like that. Which to me that's so strange. That is so strange. And I don't know if that really will happen or not. The people that I've been able to get in contact with that know college football, like to the heart, where they have connections with these people, all it is right now is just hearsay, speaking, rumors, things like that. There's no real commitment to any of this stuff. But the fear is that potentially this could come out and this could really derail the college system, right? It's the decision for division, if you will, right? I mean, it's just looming out there. It's like hanging. It's the what do you call it? The pendulum, right? The pendulum that's swinging above you and slowly getting lowered down, little by little, very slowly, mind you, but it's there. And college football, I think, is a little nervous because if it suddenly finds itself being divided, right, in this kind of like college football civil war, if you will, I don't think it's going to be as interesting as what we've seen, like what Civil War did in Marvel or anything like that. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a pretty brutal one where teams are going to start poaching one another. You know, conferences are going to start poaching one another. People are going to start making really big decisions about financials left and right. Scheduling is going to become a nightmare. You know, and again, I know this is only rumor stuff, but I bring this up because it is out there that the college football playoff system is not as set in stone by some people's account as they want to believe, and that mainly comes from the big powers at hand in the Power Four. Most of us would say, hey, suck it up and deal with it. You know, that's welcome to the world of reality. Like, yeah, you're not as good as maybe you thought you were. But ultimately, this is going to come down to one of two things happening here, and one of the big things here is really going to be, can the College Football Playoff Committee get the right 12 teams in there that at least a majority of the college football world and the majority of people, fans-wise, accept? And no matter what, can they at least be able to say, we feel like we've made the right decision that good football will be played throughout these playoffs? That's going to be a hard sell. That's going to be a hard one to touch. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying these teams should be like thrown out. I'm not saying the weaker teams should be thrown out. I'm not saying that you should overstack the playoffs with these SEC and Big Ten teams. But you need to be 100% certain that these are the ones that will give you the best outcome possible. Because if you're getting blowouts left and right, people are going to be extremely upset. Right? They're going to be extremely upset. No matter how much they're trying to convince you that these smaller schools deserve a chance, they'll find every reason to say, shouldn't have been in there. Right? Just something to consider. I was talking about this over the weekend with some buddies of mine when we were away at Canada. We were having, good old wedding, having a fun time. It was my old crew from back in the day. We were just talking about this stuff. And we got into, we're at the wedding table, party table, filled with family and friends and all kinds of stuff. And we're like basically shouting at each other about college football stuff. It's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. Right? We're at my buddy's wedding. Just it shows how ridiculous this stuff can get, which is why to those that are not sports fans, consider yourselves lucky that you don't get entwined in this stuff. It is baffling how much we're willing to argue on this, honestly. But that's going to do it for the college football stuff there, ladies and gentlemen. Obviously, let us know. We want to hear from you guys what you think about the college football playoff system. Do you agree with the teams that are in there? What are your concerns right now for college football playoff? Do you think the committee is going to get this right? How do you see this thing playing out? We want to hear from you guys. All those questions, all the comments. Hit us up. YouTube, Twitch. Obviously, hit us up on the social media at XBomb Sports. And, of course, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com for any emails and stuff like that. And speaking of the email, when we come back, we're going to answer your questions sports-wise and fandom-wise. All that stuff coming out next here on the XBomb Sports Live Show.
Hey, watch your mouth. Why? I'll just put a quarter in the swear jar. Once it's filled, we get a Coors party after work.
I've been drinking Coors since my college days. The cold draft taste is second to none.
Yeah, worth the recorder, am I right?
You know it, mother.
Hey, get those sports done?
Yeah.
No. You, sir.
Attention, employees.
The staff meeting, scheduled for this evening, will now be held tomorrow early as
Who's all? Dudes, we're only 75 cents short.
Oh, shh. Boss. Hey, sir, go yourself. You're fired!
Throughout the 1960s, 70s, and 80s, Judy Finelli established herself as a masterful juggler and performer, making appearances everywhere from Carnegie Hall to Sesame Street. With her loving heart, she has brought warm smiles to children everywhere she has performed. She even started the San Francisco School for the Circus Arts, but shortly after, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and by 2004, she was completely paralyzed. In celebration of her accomplishments and to fight the illness that had crippled Judy, a group of students from the San Francisco Clown College have compiled the perfect holiday present for those who want to laugh and to help those struggling with the illness. The goal has been set at $1 million raised, with 100% of any dollar made to be donated to the Judy Finelli Fund, which is helping find a cure to multiple sclerosis. Visit www.circuscenter.org to make a donation or to purchase a framed Naked Clown photo or the full Naked Clown 12-month calendar. Remember, 100% of every dollar is donated and goes to fighting MS.
And welcome everybody here to the X-Mom Sports Live show for what was almost a 100% show, almost so close. It's all good. We just got done talking about the college football playoff and the whole situation going on there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we move into the fun part of this segment, answering your fan questions. Yes, that's right. The X-Bomb Sports fan questions, ladies and gentlemen. We are about to answer those. And, of course, if you have any questions for us, ladies and gentlemen, you can hit us up at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys, as always. Please send them in. Please send in your questions, comments, things like that. We'll read them here on Short Fuse Fridays. We'll also read them as well at times on Blow the Whistle, our radio show done every Monday and now Wednesday. Every Monday and Wednesday now at 2 o'clock, so be on the lookout for that as well. And we might even do a couple here and there every once in a while on Bad Karma Wrestling, depending on, if we do or don't. I know we got a game for the boys of Bad Karma. We may do that on Blow the Whistle, though. We will see. We will see. But, yes, we had a couple questions come in that I thought were pretty good. One of them more relevant to the sports stuff, and one that just really got under my skin. So the first one, this comes from our guy Adrian. Adrian asked us, he said, he basically was just asking us about the Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight, and he wanted to get our thoughts on it. He just said, thoughts on the Mike Tyson-Jake Paul fight, and also, what's your thoughts on the stream from Netflix? So, if you guys are not aware, Jake Paul fought boxing legend and Hall of Famer Mike Tyson, who obviously they had a big event that was planned months ago in advance. I believe it was in March or May or something like that. They were supposed to do it. But due to unforeseen issues and, of course, Mike's health, the fight was postponed till later here in November. And it was then switched over from being a pay-per-view buy to Netflix, which this was going to be Netflix's first big sports stream since I believe they streamed. I thought they had streamed something like with the golf match or something like that. If it wasn't that, that would probably be the Brady roast was the last big thing they streamed, right? And they seem to do pretty well with that. Now, before we get into that, though, I will say, overall for what this event was, because it really wasn't a boxing match, it was an event, right? I was going to go to a watch party for this, but unfortunately, family kind of intervened and was like, yo, you want to watch? And I was like, yeah, okay. First fight was nothing. The second and third fight were fantastic. if you could watch it, by the way, obviously. Second fight, Barrios Ramos. Barrios is the champion. Ramos is your Rocky Balboa. Not really a contender, but he's getting a shot. And what a Warriors fight those two had. They went bloody, toe-to-toe, knocking each other silly, fight after fight, time after time. They were duking it out, blasting each other. Just beautiful, beautiful stuff if you love boxing. And at the end of it, they got a split decision, which I thought was ridiculous. I thought Barrios won, and I thought he should have been announced as the winner because if that happens, Ramos gets the sympathy votes from fans, which means he gets a bigger push, which means that people start to, he starts to get better fights. I don't know if he would win those fights, but at least he would get a better opportunity. Now, because it's a split decision, he still gets clout. He still gets a little bit more, energy behind him. But now this fight kind of goes like it loses a little bit of its muster, in my estimation, of course. After that, you had probably the big fight that most people were anticipating being the one to watch, and that was Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. Right? Two rivals 2 years ago who fought in one of the best women's boxing matches I'd ever seen. I haven't watched many, but this was one that these were two incredible fighters going toe-to-toe, duking it out. I mean, this is incredible. This fight, it was still amazing. Now, Katie Taylor knocking her head into Amanda Serrano, basically split her graphic, but split her eyelid open. I mean, disgusting, of course, but props to Amanda Serrano. Like, she comes from the same region that my family's from in Puerto Rico. I mean, the whole island of Puerto Rico is tough, but man, Carolina people, man, we are bred tough. We can deal with a lot. Because she was bleeding from that eye. Blood was getting in there. She was just going to town, fighting away. At the end of the day, Katie Taylor wins. Very controversial by a lot of people's account. I do believe maybe Amanda Serrano should have won. However, Taylor landed more combinations. She worked the ring better. I thought they were even on rounds right up until towards the end where I thought Serrano may have had it. But at the end of the day, it's still a great fight. No matter what, these two will probably meet again. Serrano was going up 3 weight classes to fight Katie Taylor, so it says a lot about her. And after those last 2 fights, I remember turning to my family and going, "You're ready to get disappointed." Because 8 rounds of a guy in his mid-20s taking on a guy in his late 50s going into his 60s, boxing each other when Mike Tyson has health issues. He was having problems with his foot. Not trying to make excuses, but it's there. But by the second round, you could tell Mike Tyson was gassed. Or, like, he had nothing left in the tank. He was done. And so Jake Paul just basically kind of worked him, kind of tried to make it for what it was. Everybody was upset that went there and watched it. It sounded like at least. And everybody trying to watch it, of course, was upset as well. And yet Netflix, I don't know how they're claiming 60 million people watch this thing. I don't know. But that's the thing I want to get to here more than anything. Like, who are the biggest losers in this thing? Tyson and Paul made money. Other fighters made money. Everybody, I think, had a good time that was able to watch this thing. But the problem is Netflix showed that it is not prepared to handle the traffic that was coming in. I don't believe 60 million people tuned in to watch this fight. I do believe potentially they tried to. By the end of it, 10 to 20 million people may have been trying to actually watch the fight. And you got to be able to handle that traffic. Your servers got to be strong enough to be able to handle all of that bandwidth that's going to be coming. Like, they have to have that power. Because you're going to have NFL games coming in Christmas there. And that's going to be over 100 million people likely watching, of course. And then you've got the WWE coming in, who we've talked about a lot, on their $1 billion contract. And they are going to have probably close to 100+ million people tuning in as well. And you have to be able to maintain a strong stream through those events. You have to. Right? I know that Netflix's main thing has been recorded content, right? Or, taking the content from elsewhere and basically getting it licensed to them. But you're now trying to produce a show for NFL and WWE. And they're also going to possibly do it too with UFC. That's been in talks as well. That's the thing that I come across with this. This fight is nothing. This really exposed Netflix as live broadcasting may not be your thing. Decent shows, put out some pretty good products. I love Stranger Things. I love going back and watching, all the shows that I can find on there. I love coming across the movies that they have on there at times. It's a good place to go. It's a good place to be able to watch stuff. But streaming-wise, live streaming-wise, you may want to consider other options if you have them on the table, if you're the NFL and the WWE. That's ultimately what I came across with this. The constant buffering, kicking people out of Netflix. I mean, it went across the board how bad this was. Hopefully they can fix it. They're a billion-dollar company. Should be able to. But if you can't, oh, man. I've seen when productions go bad on live streams. It's not good. It's not good at all. People get fired. People lose jobs. Careers end. Just put it out there. All right. Appreciate the question, Adrian. And the last one I'm going to address. Okay. This came from our guy, Mike. Mike and I had a little conversation because on this show, I have tended to be pretty direct about, a certain movie, I guess. Mike gave me a paragraph that I'm not going to read on basically why Avatar, why I need to stop bashing Avatar and why it's one of the greatest movies of all time. Okay. So like I said, I'm not going to go through this whole thing. I don't want to read through the whole thing. Basically, to sum it up, the cinematography, action, all that stuff, right? The CGI, all of that is selling it on why this movie is so fantastic. You know what you left out, Mike? You know what you left out? By the way, this isn't our mic. This is a different mic. You know what you left out, though, Mike? The script. Look, his basic question was, why do I hate good things like awesome movies? First off, I don't hate awesome movies, okay? I don't even really hate this film. Or movie, I should say. Because for me, there's a difference between movie and film. Which I didn't mention in the first question. But like Jake Paul is not a boxer. He's a prize fighter. Prize fighter to me is separate from boxer, even though they mean the same thing. Because a boxer challenges for the belt. A prize fighter challenges for clout and money. Okay? Because with a belt, clout and money will come. When you're a prize fighter, you're just fighting for the money and the clout that comes with it. In the same way, right? In the same way, film and movie to me, I don't know about anybody else, I feel like they're separate, right? A movie is like a summer blockbuster, right? It's what you go see, you veg out, you just watch it and you go, this is fun. A film, it's, you're in depth with the characters. You're in depth with the story. There's so much to follow behind, right? That's what I view it as, right? The Godfather, film. Titanic, movie, right? Like script-wise, I'm sorry, Avatar, it's a terrible movie. It's a film, if you want to call it that, sure. I don't know, whoever the guy who's in the wheelchair through the movie, I can't remember the actor's name. He stinks. Like, he can't act. Can't deliver his lines. No emotion. No change. Zoe Saldana, who plays opposite of him as the female blue alien. I forget the name of these things. she's fantastic. She's bringing it. She's bringing the energy because she's a great actress. Right? If you haven't seen her in Paramount Plus as the Lioness, I just started watching it because our boy here, Mike, suggested it to me. Oh my God, she's fantastic. Like, I love her in Guardians of the Galaxy. She's just as good in this thing. She kills it. Right? And she kills it in Avatar. You know, Sigourney Weaver. Phenomenal actress. I love her. I think she's fantastic. She's in a movie with Jennifer Love Hewitt where they're like women who trap men into cheating so they can get their money. It's like a throwaway movie they made back in the 2000s or the 90s or something like that. She's good in that movie too. I wish I knew the name of it. It's kind of one of those like, oh, it's on TV movies. But it's like actually a pretty decent movie because she's like really trying to act. And that's the thing is, like, she tries. She puts her effort into it. Hell, she does voiceover in a video game for Alien Isolation, which is the franchise that she made popular. And she's giving it her all in when she's delivering her lines. That says something. The rest of that movie, forget it. Nobody's trying in that movie at all, really, whatsoever. Sleepwalking. Unobtainium? That's what you're going to call the so-called rich nutrient element you're trying to mine. By the way, Pocahontas did this story just the same. Ferngully did the same thing, right? Don't destroy nature. We got it. Not saying you shouldn't protect the environment, sure. But this movie was way overblown for what the message was trying to be. The action's cool. The cinema's awesome. You want to sit and watch and veg out to this movie, great. But you can't call it a great film. There's nothing about this film other than the CGI, the effects, which I, as somebody who does that stuff, not to that level, of course, not by any means, I admire and I love looking at. But holy cow, you can't look at that movie for one moment and tell me they're doing a great job acting. Not one bit. I'm sorry. They're all just missing the mark. Other than Sigourney Weaver and Zoe Saldana. Like that, those are the only two people that are like giving it. Trying. Minus a few other character actors here and there. Forget about it the rest of the way. So, I don't hate good movies and amazing movies, okay? I don't hate movies, Mike, all right? But I do have my own theories and my judgment on those movies. Sorry if you don't agree with them. I don't know what to tell you. You can sit here right now and tell me you don't like Jurassic Park and you think it's an awful movie. You're wrong, by the way. And I will come and get it. I'm just kidding. But you can do that. That's fine. That's your opinion. This is my opinion too, right? Simple as that. I don't know what else to say to you, man. Just, I don't know why you had to send me a thesis paper to explain. Dude, you sent me what I think is a book report on Avatar, which props to you, man. I would use this in school if you're in film. If you're in a film class, use that because you used annotations in this thing. Props to you, homie. Thank you, Mike, for the question. And that's going to do it for us here on the questions part, ladies and gentlemen. As always, please send us your questions at xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. And that's going to do it for our show here, too, ladies and gents. We really appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for this one. If you had anything more you wanted to say to this stuff, obviously the email, xbsportsofficial@gmail.com. You can hit us up at xbombsports on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also hit myself up at Boom Crew Captain on Instagram or The Fluffy Guru on Twitter as well. And, of course, too, you want to hit us up in the Facebook or on the Twitch, too. We are live every Monday and possibly every Friday. You can find us at, which is at youtube.com/xbombsports and twitch.tv/xbombsports as well. Real quick, too, blow the whistle. Every Monday, every Wednesday, 2 o'clock. Be on the lookout. We're bringing you all the hot sports news as well. Myself, David Dykstra, Tyler Butterball, and Nick Johnston, as long as we're all not too busy. Life is kind of getting busier lately now that the season's changing, so we're all kind of scrambling to get stuff done. So be on the lookout for that, too. And, of course, Bad Karma Wrestling. They didn't go today, unfortunately. Again, busy schedules. But be on the lookout for them every Friday. They go live 11:30 a.m. Central Time. Be here for it. David Dykstra, No Gaming, Sneak Johnston. They're doing their thing here on the Twitch and on the YouTube side as well. So check that out as well, ladies and gents. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And we'll see you guys in the next one. As always, much love. Peace out, Boom Crew.